Long ago, before the world was as we know it, everything was covered in endless night. There was no sun, no moon, not even a single star to guide the way. The earth lay in shadow, and people stumbled through their days as if blind, never knowing when it was morning or evening. The forests were cloaked in silence, broken only by the calls of animals that hunted in the dark. Rivers moved like black glass, unseen except by touch. Fires offered only small islands of light, fragile and weak against the heavy blanket of darkness. Humans lived in fear, longing for something more, while the animals grew restless under the eternal night. It was a time when the world waited for change, waited for light. And far above, watching all of this with sharp, clever eyes, was Raven, the trickster, already planning his mischief. High in the blackened sky, Raven sat perched on the branch of a tall cedar tree. His feathers shimmered faintly, touched by the faint glow of firelight from the villages below. Unlike the humans, Raven did not stumble blindly. His eyes were sharp and his mind even sharper. He watched the people move about, struggling to gather food, struggling to live without light. Raven tilted his head, amused by their hardship, yet curious. For Raven was not only a bird, he was a trickster, a seeker, a bringer of change. Far across the sea, his gaze fell upon the lodge of a powerful old man. From within, something flickered, tiny sparks of brilliance escaping through the cracks. Stars, the moon, the sun. Raven could feel their power, hidden away in those sacred boxes. A sly smile formed in his mind. The people longed for light, and Raven longed for mischief. Across the water stood a solitary lodge, stronger and larger than any other. Inside lived an old man, ancient and stern, who guarded treasures no one else had ever seen. His home smelled of cedar wood and smoke, and at night, faint glimmers of light leaked from within, like stars trying to escape. The people whispered of him, saying he possessed the greatest of all gifts, the stars, the moon, and the sun. He had trapped them in 3 sacred boxes, hidden deep inside his house. Why he kept them, no one knew. Perhaps he feared the world was not ready for such power. Perhaps he wished to keep it all to himself. Raven, watching from afar, understood the truth. If he could only reach those boxes, the darkness would end. But trickery, not strength, would be his path. Raven knew the old man was too watchful, too powerful to be challenged directly. To steal the treasures, he would need more than wings and claws. He would need cunning. Perched above the flowing river, Raven listened to the water rushing toward the old man's lodge. Each day, the old man's daughter came to the river to fetch fresh water. And each day, she returned unsuspecting, never noticing the sharp eyes that followed her every step. Raven tilted his head, and a glimmer of mischief danced in his gaze. If he could not enter the lodge as a bird, he would enter in another form. He spread his wings, let out a harsh cry, and with a shimmer of magic, his body twisted and shrank. Black feathers became green veins, and soon Raven was no more. Only a small, delicate leaf floating gently upon the river's surface. The young daughter of the old man walked slowly to the river, a carved wooden cup in her hands. She bent down, her reflection rippling on the black water, unaware of the trick that had already been set in motion. The river carried Raven, now a single green leaf, floating gently, waiting for the perfect moment. When the girl dipped her cup into the stream, the leaf slipped inside, hidden among the cool water. She lifted the cup to her lips and drank deeply. At once, Raven's spirit stirred within her, silent and unseen. The girl felt nothing unusual, only the freshness of the water easing her thirst. But the trickster had found his way inside, planting himself within her as part of a grander plan. The world remained in darkness, yet within the girl's body, the first spark of light's arrival had already begun to grow. Time passed, and the old man's daughter gave birth to a child unlike any other. He was small, yet his eyes shone with a strange brightness, as though tiny sparks lived inside them. The people of the lodge whispered in wonder, for the baby seemed touched by magic. The old man, though suspicious, grew fond of the child. The boy laughed easily, crawled quickly, and filled the darkened house with restless energy. But when he cried, his voice carried a power that shook even the walls. No one knew the truth, that within this child lived Raven himself, reborn in human form. Behind his innocent gaze, the trickster's clever mind was already at work, waiting for the right moment to act. The sacred boxes still rested in the old man's care, glowing faintly in the shadows. And soon, the child would find a way to claim them. As the boy grew, his curiosity grew with him. He crawled across the lodge, reaching for everything that shimmered in the shadows. But one treasure drew his eyes more than all the rest: the first sacred box, glowing faintly in the corner of the room. One evening, he began to cry, louder and louder, until the old man could no longer bear the sound. The child stretched out his small hands toward the box, his wails echoing through the dark house. At first, the old man shook his head. "No," he whispered, clutching the box close. But the cries did not stop. They grew sharper, piercing, filling the air like a storm. Finally, with a weary sigh, the old man relented. He opened the box just a crack, enough for brilliant light to slip out. Tiny stars burst free and shot upward, scattering across the night sky. The moment the old man lifted the lid, 1,000 sparks of light escaped into the air. They whirled around the lodge like fireflies, dazzling in the eternal darkness. The child laughed with delight, clapping his hands as the lights danced before him. Then, with a rush of magic, the lights shot upward, piercing the roof of the lodge and soaring into the sky. One by one, they scattered across the heavens, taking their places as the first stars the world had ever seen. Outside, the people lifted their eyes in awe. For the first time, the night was no longer empty. Tiny points of light shimmered above them, guiding their steps, easing their fears. The old man sighed heavily. He had given up one treasure, though not by choice. But in the child's shining eyes, a deeper hunger was already stirring. The stars now glittered across the sky, but the boy was not satisfied. His eyes wandered to the second sacred box, glowing more brightly than the first. Within it rested the moon, round and luminous, waiting to be freed. One night, the boy began to cry again. He stretched his tiny hands toward the box, his voice sharp and insistent. The old man shook his head furiously. "No more! I will not lose another treasure." But the boy's cries only grew louder. His wails shook the walls of the lodge, filling every corner with unbearable sound. The old man covered his ears, pacing in despair. Finally, unable to endure the noise, he gave in. He lifted the lid, and the silver moon floated upward, glowing brilliantly as it escaped into the heavens. The world now had the stars and the moon, but still, the child's hunger remained. As the old man opened the box, a silver light spilled into the room, softer than the fire of the stars, yet far more powerful. The round moon lifted gently into the air, glowing like a pearl against the darkness. It drifted upward, graceful and steady, slipping through the roof of the lodge and rising high above the world. The people outside gasped as they saw its glow wash across the forests, rivers, and mountains. For the first time, shadows softened, and the night became gentle instead of terrifying. Animals stirred in the woods, confused but calm under the moon's pale light. The humans gathered together, whispering in awe, pointing at the sky. Inside the lodge, the old man sat in sorrow. 2 of his treasures were gone, and the child's eyes gleamed with mischief, for Raven was far from finished. The stars shone above, the moon glowed softly, but the child's gaze turned to the third and brightest box. From its seams spilled golden fire, so intense that even the shadows in the lodge seemed to shrink away. Inside rested the sun, the greatest treasure of all. One morning, the boy began to cry again. His tiny hands reached for the box, his voice sharp and relentless. The old man clutched it tightly, fear flashing in his eyes. "No," he whispered. "If I release this, nothing will be the same. The sun is too powerful." But the child wailed louder, kicking and thrashing, his cries piercing like thunder. The old man trembled, his will weakening under the storm of sound. At last, his heart broke. Against his better judgment, he pulled the box closer to the child, his hands shaking, and Raven's eyes glittered with triumph. The old man slowly lifted the lid of the final box. A golden glow spilled out, warm and blinding, filling the dark lodge instantly. Rays of sunlight stretched across the walls, turning every shadow into brilliant light. The child's laughter rang out, pure and triumphant, as the sun seemed to pulse in his tiny hands. Every corner of the room shimmered with golden brilliance, reflecting in the child's sparkling eyes. Outside, the world began to change. Forests, rivers, and mountains that had been hidden in darkness were revealed in radiant light. Birds and animals stirred, dazzled by the sudden brilliance. For the first time, humanity could see the world in all its colors. The old man trembled, realizing his treasures were gone, but the child and the trickster within him had succeeded. Raven had brought light to the world. The child held the sun close, its golden light radiating warmth and brilliance. Then, with a sudden shimmer, his small body began to change. Limbs stretched and feathers sprouted, black as night, glistening in the sun's glow. In an instant, the boy was no more. Raven had returned, reborn in his true form, a sleek, cunning bird with wings wide enough to span the sky. The sun rested firmly in his beak, brilliant and burning with life. The old man reached out in shock, but it was too late. Raven leapt from the lodge roof, wings slicing through the air with powerful strokes. Light exploded behind him, illuminating the forests, rivers, and mountains for the first time. The trickster had won. The darkness of the world shattered, replaced by the golden sun, as Raven soared into the heavens, unstoppable and free. Raven flapped his mighty wings, lifting the blazing sun high into the sky. The golden light spilled across the land, chasing away the darkness that had lasted for so long. Forests glimmered with vibrant greens. Rivers sparkled like silver, and mountains revealed their majestic peaks for the first time. Humans stepped out of their homes, shielding their eyes from the brilliant glow. Their hearts swelled with awe and joy, for the world had finally changed. Darkness no longer ruled the land. Day and night now danced together in a rhythm never seen before. Below, the old man watched silently, a mixture of fear and wonder in his eyes. Raven circled high above, carrying the sun proudly. With each beat of his wings, light spread further, touching every corner of the earth. The trickster had given the world a gift it would never forget. As Raven carried the sun across the sky, the heat began to sear his feathers. Flames licked at his wings, and sparks flew from his body, yet he did not falter. The light was too important, the world too dark for him to stop now. His once black feathers shimmered with golden flecks, then charred and turned a deep, permanent black. Every beat of his wings carried the weight of fire, yet he pressed onward, determined to place the sun where it belonged. Below, the world bathed in the warm glow, unaware of the cost the trickster had paid. Mountains, rivers, and forests glowed in brilliance, and humans danced and rejoiced under the newfound light. From that day forward, all ravens carried the mark of that day: black feathers, a reminder of courage, mischief, and the gift of the sun. The first rays of sunlight touched the earth, and the world stirred in wonder. Forests glimmered in shades of green never before seen. Rivers sparkled like liquid silver, and mountains revealed their jagged peaks, bathed in golden warmth. Humans stepped outside, shielding their eyes at first, then smiling and laughing in delight. Children ran through the sunlight, chasing shadows that danced at their feet. Families gathered in awe, marveling at the beauty that had always been hidden from them. Animals emerged from the darkness, shaking off the long night. Birds sang songs of joy, their melodies weaving with the hum of the newly lit world. Above, Raven soared across the sky, carrying the sun safely, watching the world he had changed. Though his feathers were scorched black, a quiet pride shone in his clever eyes. The trickster had given the world its first true dawn. High above the world, Raven glided across the sky, the sun clutched safely in his beak. Golden light poured from him, spreading warmth and color across forests, rivers, and mountains. The world had changed forever. Humans below looked up in awe, whispering stories of the clever trickster who had brought the sun. Children pointed, eyes wide with wonder, imagining the mysterious bird that carried light itself. Though his feathers were blackened from the sun's heat, Raven felt no fear or regret. He had done what was necessary. Darkness had been defeated, and the world now knew day and night, warmth and shadow. From that day forward, the people remembered the story, teaching it to their children. And Raven became a symbol of cunning, bravery, and the gift of light. The trickster had triumphed. The world had light, and the legend lived on. With the sun firmly in the sky, the world began to find its rhythm. Daylight stretched across forests, rivers, and mountains, revealing colors and shapes that had been hidden in the endless darkness. Shadows shifted, dancing along the land as humans and animals adjusted to the new cycle. People rose with the sun, feeling warmth on their skin for the first time. They tended fields, hunted, and explored, marveling at a world now alive with light. The night still came, guided by the silver moon and sparkling stars, providing rest and calm after the busy day. Raven watched from above, circling the sky with careful attention. Each beat of his wings scattered more light, ensuring the sun remained secure in its place. The world thrummed with life and possibility, learning to live in harmony with day and night. Even the darkest corners of the earth now held hope, balanced by the brilliance of the sun. The people began to tell stories of Raven, the clever trickster who had brought light to the world. Around fires and in gathering circles, they recounted his daring, his cunning, and the courage it took to steal the sun. Raven, flying high across the sky, became more than just a bird. He was a symbol of ingenuity and bravery, a reminder that even a mischievous being could gift the world something extraordinary. Children looked up at black-feathered ravens with wide eyes, imagining the trickster soaring above, watching over them. Even the old man, once fearful of losing his treasures, came to respect Raven's boldness. The stars, moon, and sun now belonged to all, illuminating paths, guiding travelers, and inspiring countless generations. Raven had left his mark forever, teaching that cleverness, audacity, and determination could change the world, and that legends live in the hearts of those who remember. Raven soared across the horizon, the sun safe in his beak. His black feathers gleamed in the golden light he had released, each shimmer a reminder of the courage and cleverness it had taken to bring brightness to the world. Below, humans and animals thrived under the sun's warm rays. The sun rose and set, the moon guided travelers at night, and stars twinkled in the dark sky. Life now had rhythm, balance, and hope, all because of the trickster who dared to change the world. Raven's legend endured, not as a perfect hero, but as a symbol of wit, audacity, and transformation. Every black raven seen in the wild carried a memory of that day, a tale of mischief that brought light. And so, the story of Raven, the bird who stole the sun, lived on, bridging darkness and light, mischief and wisdom, forever remembered by the people. Nobody